Okay, today we're talking about division with decimals. And there are 3 topics to talk about, so this might be a little bit long. First, we're going to talk about dividing decimals by whole numbers. Okay, so 3 things to know. First, you need to put a decimal point in the quotient above the dividend. I'll explain these terms in just a minute. These are vocabulary terms that you should know. And then you divide as normal. You continue, this might be a new concept for some of you. You continue dividing until there is no remainder. So no more remainder or R after your answer. So if we look at, you can stop the video if you need to write those 3 points down. If we look at 4 divided into 7 and 32 hundredths, this is our dividend. And our quotient is going to be our answer. It's not there yet, but it's going to be right up there on the top line. So we're going to take our decimal point before we even start and just move it directly up into the quotient so that we don't forget it later. And then we just divide as normal. So 4 divides into 7 one time. 1 times 4 is 4. I'll subtract and bring down my next number. 4 divides into 33 8 times. 8 times 4 is 32. 1, and bring my 2 down. And 4 divides into 12 3 times. 3 times 4 is 12. And I've divided until I have no remainder. This one works out pretty well. So let's do one more like that. I have 12 divided into 4 and 38 hundredths. 12 divided into 4 and 38 hundredths. So I'm going to bring my decimal point directly up. And then 12 does not divide into 4, so I will put a 0 right there. But 12 can divide into 43. Even though there's a decimal point here, we're still going to consider these one whole number. 12 divides into 43 3 times. 3 times 12 is 36. Subtract for 7. If you need to, you can regroup. And then bring down the 8. 12 divides into 78 6 times. If you're not sure about that, you might need to go out to the side and multiply 12 times some numbers to figure out how many times 12 will divide into 78. It does divide in 6 times for 72. And when you subtract, you get 6. So it's here that we have a remainder that we're going to continue on with until we have none. So I'll extend my line, add a 0, and bring that 0 down next to the 6. 12 divides into 60 5 times. 5 times 12 is 60. So now I have no remainder. Moving on. Our next topic, I'm going to push my paper up a little bit here. Our next topic is dividing decimals by decimals. Okay, so in our problem 1 2/10 divided into 4 56/100, before you can start, you need to move the decimal point in the outside number until it's a whole number. After that, you need to move the decimal point in the inside number the same number of times. In that way, since you've moved them the same number of times, you're in effect keeping the numbers the same. They're just in a different place value. So going up here to 1 2/10, the decimal point's right here, we need to move it to the right until this is a whole number. And now we're going to go back and move this decimal point to the right one time because that's what we did here. My new problem now looks like 12 divided into 45 6/10. And now I can divide because if my inside number has a decimal, I just bring that straight up into my quotient. So 12 goes into 45 3 times. Out to the side, 12 times 3 is 36. And then I subtract for 9, bring down the 6, and now I've got 96. You have to do some experimenting and guessing and checking, but I know that 12 times 8 is 96, so that'll go up here. 12 times 8 is 96. Subtract for 0, which then means that you're done. So your answer is 3 8/10. Okay, we're going to do one more problem here. I'm going to try and get rid of this one bar. Never mind. So we're going to divide 39 hundredths into 273 thousandths. Before we can do that, we need to move the decimal points over. I'm just fixing my resolution here. Okay, I'm going to move my decimal point over 1, 2, and then this decimal point gets moved over 1, 2. Always make sure they're the same. I'm going to bring my decimal point straight up so I know where it goes in my answer. Okay, actually, I'm going to go over here first and rewrite this problem because it's a little bit messy. Now I'm going to move my decimal point straight up. That's not mandatory, but highly recommended. Okay, so 39 will not divide into 2. 39 will not divide into 27, but will divide into 273, which honestly, you need to think of this as 273 while you're dividing. Just take that decimal point out, figure out your answer, and then the decimal point will be waiting up here. In order to figure this out, I'm going to estimate this. I'm going to round this up to 40 and make an estimation. So if I have 40 and I multiply times 5, I get 200. If I multiply by 6, I get 240. If I multiply by 7, I get 280. So I know that I'm going to be between 6 and 7. I'm going to start with 39 times 6 for 54. 18 plus 5 is 23. And then it looks like I might be able to get one more group of 39 in there. And it's exactly 273. So it's not 39 times 6, it's 39 times 7. Put my 7 up there, and I'm going to multiply that for 273 and subtract for 0. And that is the end of that problem.